Comprehensive, definitely, yes. As long as I'm around. This is research methods, okay? Research methods, applied statistics and research methods. This subject will be important for you guys to prepare yourself for the final year project, which is coming next semester. Yeah, next semester. Okay, which is coming end of next semester. So it becomes important for you to more or less like understand the research methods, the associated statistics and everything else, because it's going to become something that you need to be mindful or be aware of to complete your final project. So you might as well think about what you want to do for your final project as well. This particular course is different as compared to all other courses that we have been taught so far. I would have preferred maybe a face-to-face interaction so that I can actually see how you guys are going to handle this. And being vet students, I can understand that most of you are allergic to numbers. Okay, allergic to numbers. Okay, allergic to numbers. And since you're allergic to numbers, there could be certain things that you can do and certain things that you cannot do, or maybe prefer not to do. First things first, let's go to the Putra Blast. I need to switch screen. Okay, Putra Blast. Okay, Group 1 and Group 2 has already been, you can see the Putra Blast website. There are several things that I want you to know. Number 1, you can pick up the synopsis here. I'll describe later the synopsis. Number 2, you may have also seen slide number 2 is actually test 1 and your semester project. I will describe that one after we have covered the synopsis. So that means materials for test 1 is already here since on the first day itself. The next will be the electronic statistics books. Okay, electronic statistics book. So this is actually a book that you can access online. Not sure whether you can download. You can use a site downloader to download, because this is actually a HTML book. Okay, HTML book. You can download all those, provided they are game enough to look through. But what I like to remind you again is that this course is actually a combination of statistics and research methods. So statistics is only half of the course. Research methods tells you how to reorganize data, look at data, use the tools available to you, and based on the evidences presented, connect the dots and try to make sense of whatever that you have been taught. Okay, been taught. And materials for this particular course is actually available on my YouTube. Okay, you can click on the YouTube. Okay, YouTube is here. So it's under where is the playlist? It's under 3160. If you are game enough, you can also look at 5021, Advanced Research Method. That is for postgraduate students. Okay, so this will be the course. This will be the materials I've already uploaded. Okay, you start with 401. Okay, 401 all the way to 4. There are actually more. Okay, there are actually more. You can look at the playlist here. Okay, 401. Okay, 401. And then I also have already included correlation and regression analysis. I did not include the other parts. Okay, for example, the field biology and few other things. They're supposed to be here. Okay, they're supposed to be here as well. Field biology. Okay, field biology. They're supposed to be here as well. Or maybe they are dissociated. Okay, maybe they are dissociated. So these are the kind of things that you you need to look at to this aspect. So I will be looking at overview of research process and few others. Okay, so try to look at the material. This is your SMP. Try to look at the material in order to gain insights into what I'm supposed to be covering. This thing kept on popping up. Okay, so this is back to your Putra Blast. Now, as for the reading assignment, okay, reading assignment is actually for you to go through the Stat Home book, okay, Stat Home book. And second reading assignment is actually if you are up to it. If you don't want to do it, there's no problem, because the reading assignment here is actually not mandatory. It's actually something that is non-graded, voluntary assignment to develop your understanding of applied statistics. That's all. The second link is actually linked to the open courseware at MIT. I'm sure you know who is MIT. So these materials are from spring 2014. When we have access before. The materials here are rather, to some extent, rather advanced. Okay, rather advanced. You may or may not need all of them, but pay attention to the sections on probability, because I'm using some of the sections on probability from here. We will be covering probability later, and to see how probability helps you in your statistical understanding of the entire program. Okay, statistical understanding of the entire program. So this is actually something that you may want to really pay attention to later. The third one will be from Wolfram Alpha. I'm not sure how many of you have already heard about this, Wolfram Alpha. This is Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram Alpha is just like Google for mathematics. So you can do all kinds of things with it. Do you have chemistry, you have mathematics, you have probability, you have all kinds of things. So let's move on to mathematics. Wolfram Alpha, they call themselves computational intelligence. So if you go to mathematics and statistics, you can do a lot of things with it. Wolfram Alpha, you can solve algebra, calculus, plotting and graphics, geometry. So I guess in the old days, if you have access to this website, you can practically solve your algebraic equations in your calculus and analysis. So you can even ask for a step-by-step, okay, step-by-step solutions and so on and so forth. Trigonometry, linear algebra, all this. I know, that's why I said vet students are technically allergic to numbers. Okay, statistics are here. Allergic to numbers, so you may not enjoy this one as compared to me. Okay, I came from a slightly different background. I'm supposed to be I have some degree of computational mathematics and engineering background to some extent. So I prefer those kind of things, and that's why I venture into data science. Okay, data science, machine learning, and all those kind of things. What we call the artificial intelligence. At the faculty, apart from me, another person that has similar interest is actually Dr. Noor Haryani. Okay, Dr. Noor Haryani. So we are among the few who have preference for numbers. Okay, we have preference for numbers. Okay, so this is actually what we have here. So you can take a look at this, what we can do, because sometimes some solutions you may need this. Now let's go back here. So that's Wolfram Alpha. Apart from that, there's also a whole list of statistics calculators. Okay, statistics calculators. So you can actually download free software. You can actually use all kinds of calculators here. For example, this one. Okay, Omni calculator. okay, statistics calculator to calculate all kinds of things. Accuracy, Bayes theorem, don't know what they call it, Berthier paradox, okay, probability calculator, distributions calculator, binomial, and geometric frequency distribution, all kinds of things. There are plenty of calculator here. Descriptive statistics calculator, okay. Simpson's diversity, this is actually for field biology. If let's say you're going to go to survey the number of species in the jungle, or maybe to some extent even number of species of bacteria in the gut of an animal, mouth of the animal, you want to you can actually use this calculator. They call it, this is actually the Limnus Omni calculator, inferential statistical calculator. You can have all this covariance, correlation, coefficient. So all these are built in. Wilcoxon, we'll be covering Mann-Whitney, Wilcoxon, Z-score, okay, sample size and everything else. So these are the kind of things that you can do. So not necessarily that you have software, you have SPSS software, but you can have all this as well. Okay, you can have all this as well. So the links are all here, Omni calculator. And then if you have something more professional looking, okay, professional looking, you can go for Epi Info. Okay, Epi Info. This one is based in Australia. Okay, go to English. Okay, Epi Tools. Maintained by OSVAT. I was using the Chinese version because I have to translate and do some certain work for the friends at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Okay, I'm a member of the Thousand Talent Group. Okay, regardless of whatever that you read online, they say that it's a spying group, this and that, but that is just certain propaganda. I'm a member of that, so chances with me being a member, so that means I cannot go to the US. I could be subjected to detention, this and that, because if you are a member of that, then you can't. Okay, that's a story behind for another day. Okay, so in this case, you can have epi tools for this. This will be very important later for your epidemiology. Now, another thing that is important for this particular course is that it forms the foundation. Okay, it forms a foundation for your epidemiology. Okay, epidemiology. So by understanding statistics, then only then you can run epidemiological studies and understand how disease spreads and this and that. Okay, disease spreads and so on and so forth. And apart from that, you can also have free statistics tools here and CDC for Epi Info. You can also download this. This is a free software again. There are a lot of free things out there. Okay, this for CDC. Epi Info for Windows. You can analyze epidemiological data. Prof Latifah may use this. Okay, may use this. All these are free. Okay, free. You can explore this. And then the other one will be the NC3RS EDA. This is the one that I use for animal trial in the UK. Okay, NC3RS, Experimental Design Assistant. And this website is especially good because it has things like this. Okay, this is EDA, okay, Experimental Design Assistant. So how to design research, how to design experiments, they are all here. And then go to 3R resources. And you look at blood sampling. Okay, this website is especially for laboratory animal management. So you have a lot of interesting videos. For example, how to do sampling in mouse, rat, hamster, guinea pig, rabbit, ferret, dog, pig, marmoset. And then the videos are very detailed. Okay, the videos are very detailed. This is based on UK non-profit site. For designing experiments, designing animal toxicology trial. You may see the coronavirus image there because we are involved in the work to some extent. I'm part of the national vaccine team. Okay, but unfortunately my involvement is not through UPM. My involvement is through Kementerian. So you may not see my name in the UPM team. My name is really Kementerian because of the certain bureaucratic issues here. So we do this kind of thing, and then you can see, let's say we take rabbits. Okay, you go into exotic practice. They'll tell you what are the techniques available. Non-surgical terminal techniques. Let's say non-surgical techniques. You can take from marginal ear vein in rabbits. Okay, I digress a little bit. Digress a little bit. It will show you how to do the sampling, and then even though the number of samples, sample volume, equipment, adverse effects, resources referring to these techniques, okay, what needle to use, they are all described here. So don't think all these are only about experiments, and sometimes there are even videos. Okay, there are even videos involved. I think this one, no video. Okay, with videos. I do not know how many of you have actually done this type of sampling in exotic animals apart from dogs and cats, but these are the kind of things that you may need to learn as well. My involvement is mostly with laboratory animal, sheep and goats and cattle. Okay, so and of course I do my original expertise is actually in the small animal cardiology to some extent. Okay, so this is actually something that we should be doing as well. But so let's go back to the EDA. You can explore the materials here. So there are plenty of things to see. All these are free actually. Okay, the EDA is here. Okay, EDA, Experiment Design Assistant. So this one is actually how you want to plan to do, select sample size, and then after that what you need to do, and then the progression and so on and so forth. Things that you need to consider. So Experiment Design Assistant. So you can get the guides from here as well. Okay, now let's go back to the course. So other than that, so you can explore all the materials already put up here on Putra Blast. For you to see. Okay, let's go back to the course. Okay. So there will be 3 persons teaching this, maybe 2 exactly. I'll be handling most of the course, and then Dr. Nohariani will be handling the correlation and regression. Okay, correlation and regression, and Dr. Muhammad Akmal will be handling maybe from the following semester onwards, because as you can see, I'm getting busier and busier, more as an administrator now. So he will come in to join the class to some extent, and then he will decide which we will decide and talk and discuss among us later which will be the topics that he will be taking over from the next round onwards. Not this round. This round I'm still doing it. Okay, this round I'm still doing it mostly, and then of course the component for Dr. Nohariani will be increasing with time. Okay. The lecture time, lecture time will be, the practical will be Monday 2 to 5, and then the lecture time will be 9 to 11 on Wednesdays, on Wednesdays. Now, in view of the arrangements in view of the current situation whereby we cannot have physical classes, so it becomes very difficult for me to run labs, because labs is actually where you get proficient with your SPSS and so on and so forth. So I'll be using mostly SPSS. I'll be using mostly SPSS. But since SPSS require license, let me introduce you to a friend of SPSS. So if you have SPSS, this software calls itself PSPP. Instead of SPSS, you have PSPP. Now, this software is free software from the Free Software Foundation. The interface, the way it operates look exactly like SPSS, but it's free. Instead of SPSS, it calls itself PSPP. So you can see that it's actually a wordplay of SPSS. So you can download this software and not subjected to any license, no problem at all. It is completely free. Completely free. The interface looks like SPSS. SPSS 17, SPSS 18 along that line. It's free software. You can go and download this one. Go and download this one. Just key in PSPP. It's under the new operating license, but it can be installable on Windows. So this is the free software movement. Free software movement. So next year, if you're running your final project and so on and so forth, you cannot download SPSS. Never mind, download PSPP. The menu system, everything else is very similar to SPSS. Okay, it operates the same way anyway. Okay, the only difference is that SPSS is expensive. If you can get SPSS software, chances are you'll be getting the pirated one. If you're using it for personal use, nobody knows, then fine. But of course, I cannot tell you that. I'm not supposed to be propagating pirated software to my students. So the alternative, a very good alternative, will be this new PSPP. Okay, PSPP. The interface and everything else will be the same. So whatever that I more or less, whatever that I've really taught you for SPSS, more or less can be used in PSPP. They are the same anyway. Okay, they are the same. They are the same anyway. The difference is that it is actually free. So you can look at the page here. You can look at the compatibility and everything else. Okay, this menu is more or less similar. Okay, menu is more or less similar to SPSS. You just look at the analogy between, I'm sure some of you now are very familiar with WPS Office rather than Word Office. I'm using this now rather than Word Office because the Office 360 that UPM subscribed to always wanted to access the server, so it makes the entire system very slow. I still prefer the old, traditional, simple Word and so on and so forth. So WPS is, you just think about SPSS, you just think about Office and WPS Office. The relationship is similar. Okay, so the functionalities, everything else are the same, so no worries. So this is just an example what you want to look at. So SPSS, if you know how to use PSPP, you should know how to use SPSS, no problem. So please download and take a look. Okay, download and take a look, and most important is free. Okay, most important is free, so you can use it without worries of licensing and this and that. Okay. So since we won't be running mostly a lab session at least until the second half of the semester. Okay, second half of semester. I'm looking at the possibilities of maybe having only a single session class on every Mondays. Is that possible? Okay, let me know, is it possible, or maybe you would prefer other time? I would prefer to have it on every Monday. So since the materials have already been uploaded, okay, materials have been uploaded online. I would prefer that if you can go to those materials, and then when it comes to Mondays, okay, Mondays, 2 to 5, you can actually we can actually go through quickly what are the procedures that go through for the SPSS, analytical procedure and so on and so forth, and then we conclude the class. Okay, conclude the class. Now, Wednesdays could be problematic for me because what happens is that Wednesdays I may be involved in management meetings here and this and that. However, if let's say we have face-to-face classes, I don't mind taking Wednesday classes and so on and so forth. But Mondays, I prefer to have to have that particular class, let's say on every Mondays, to conclude whatever they have learned the week before. And since this is actually the first the first practical, it might be good for me to introduce several things. And in particular, today I want to give instructions on your semester project and test one. Okay, so the topics that I'll be covering will be all this. Okay, research elements and so on and so forth. And the classes will go on until the 3rd of December. Okay, 3rd December. Whereby between the 4th to 11th December, you'll be having your mid-semester break. Now, what happened is that after the mid-semester break, you guys are expected, if everything goes on well, you guys are expected to come back for face-to-face classes beginning the 13th of December. Okay, 13th December. So 13th December is actually where and when Dr. Noor Haryani takes over. Okay, Dr. Noor Haryani takes over. So hopefully, by the time she takes over, she'll be able to see you guys face to face. And I would prefer, after that, we'll be having the regular classes again. So that means the Wednesday and Mondays. Because if let's say it's having regular classes, it'll be easier for me to attend to the classes rather than being forced to attend management meeting, this and that. But however, if let's say we are having virtual classes, chances are I still have to operate using two terminals like what I'm doing now, one for the meeting, one for the class. I don't think it's effective, but if they are enforcing virtual classes and virtual meetings, I cannot run away. I still have to be at two places. Okay, so that's why I said, if possible, with your agreement, we'll be having classes only on Mondays. Okay, Mondays 2 to 5, so that we can finish off whatever that we need to finish for that particular week. So this is actually the content. Now, the practical, the test one will be scheduled is actually on the 17th. Okay. However, I'll give you more details about what's going on for test one, and test two will be 29th, 29 December, the second last day of the year. Okay. The assessment wise, test one, okay, test one will be 20 marks. Test 2 will be 20 marks, and then your semester project will be 20 marks. Okay, 20 marks. We'll talk about the semester project after this. And then the final exam will be 40%. Okay, 40%. Okay, so this is actually the arrangements. So we'll be having classes only on Mondays, 2 to 5, when we are having online classes. And then once you come back for face-to-face classes, we'll be having Mondays and Wednesdays. Okay, Mondays and Wednesdays. And why I'm doing so, because I prefer to see everybody during the face-to-face classes, so that I can see how well you're operating your SPSS. I'll be using mostly SPSS, but as I mentioned earlier, if you're at home, you have access to SPSS, that'll be good. But if you can't, then you can always download the PSPP software, because they work more or less the same anyway. Okay, they work more or less the same anyway. So once you have that, it'll be good for you to learn that. Now, why do I emphasize those softwares? Because those are the softwares that you will be using later for your final project. Okay, for your final project, and it will be very important for you to think about what you're going to do for your final project beginning now. Why is it so? Because final project may require you to have a proper plan about what work that you want to do, what data that you want to survey, and then what conclusions that you can make based on the data you already collected. And this will actually teach you how to organize yourself to conduct research project. And research project, okay, or VPD, I think 4999 is actually something that is very important for you. It is a partial fulfillment of your degree. Okay, partial fulfillment degree, and then it is something that is mandatory for every vet student who wants to graduate. Okay, who wants to graduate. In previous years, we used to put it or allocate it in your final year, but now we don't put it in the final year. We include it only in the fourth year, second semester. Okay, after the second semester, before you start the final year itself. Just like what your seniors are currently doing. In fact, they will be presenting in maybe about 10 days time. Okay, 10 days time. They are preparing the abstract now. 10 days time. Presenting in 10 days time for them to pass the subject. So it also becomes important for you not only to think about what you want to do for a project, but to think about who do you want to be for your supervisor. It should be somebody that you can work with easily, and somebody that is accessible to you. Okay, is accessible to you. So please don't look for people that are too busy, or people that may not have any time to spare for you, because final project requires a close supervision. Okay, close supervision, and then a lot of commitment from both the students and the supervisor. And then under the current situation, you should also understand that for the final project, it is also the platform for you to maybe to win that particular coveted prize from FFM, the best final project. I'm happy to say that one of my students for last year's final project, not this year, last year's final project, has been shortlisted as one of the finalists. So that means he has a shot at the ultimate prize itself. But for me, it's very simple. You have to ask yourself, what do you want from this final project? Do you want to win the prize, or you just want to pass the subject? Because there are different levels of commitment. For me, it's very simple. If you want to go for the prize, then you have to put in more effort. But if you just want to pass, we just do the minimum, so that you can actually pass the project and then pass the degree, and you don't have much hassle later when you are actually sitting for your comprehensive exam. Because bear in mind, the FFM prizes are actually being decided at the point when you are preparing to sit for your comprehensive exam. So make sure you are really, really ready up to the task to defend your final project while sitting for the comprehensive exam. Okay, sitting for the comprehensive exam. So these are the kind of planning that you have to put into mind first. Okay, so that is for the synopsis, and then for the course, like general instructions for the course. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? No, okay. If let's say there's none, then we move on to talk about the materials for today. Okay, I will be covering the overview of research. Okay, these are the same materials that you can see from my YouTube. So I will not be focusing too much on this, because you can actually always review those videos, and if you have questions, ask me on every Mondays when we see each other again. But today, what I really want to talk about is this one. Okay, test one and semester assignment. Like what I already told you earlier in the in the synopsis, this is actually a project-oriented PBL. So you are given one semester, okay, one semester to decide to complete that particular project. And due to the ongoing pandemic, I would also include this as a part of test one. Okay, I will also include it as part of test one. And of course, this subject being something that is not really traditionally a medical course for vet students, I would prefer that I would prefer everybody to pass this particular subject, because it would sound very outrageous or very strange if, let's say, you can't take the comprehensive exam. Touch wood, it won't happen to you, just because you have not passed one subject, and that subject happens to be statistics. Now, come on, you guys are here to do the veterinary degree, and of course, you cannot be held back by a mathematically related course. Okay, so now this is actually what I want you to do for the semester assignment. You need to organize yourselves into groups of 6 to 8 people. Okay, normally what I do is that I will group everybody randomly by their last digit of the number. Okay, so people with last digit of zeros and so on and so forth will be grouped of zeros. And of course, that means we only have 10 groups: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, those groups that are overflowing with people, and then again will be subdivided into, then again we'll go through their second number, the second last number. For example, your number is let's say 281150, so your second digit will be 5. Okay, then you might be assigned to group 5, and so on and so forth. As we do so until to the point that you we get even number of people. Okay, even number of people. Now, why do I group students according to numbers? Because you have to think about this. If you have too many groups in the class, we are going to have issues at the end of the semester later when we are going to present the results. Now, you see here the practical. Around week 13 and week 14, there will be pembentangan. Okay, so you have to do a semester research, and then at the end of the semester, you have to table the research findings. Okay, you have to table research findings. Now, suppose each group is only given 15 minutes to table, and let's say we only have 2 hours to table. So that means only a day, we only have anything between 6 to 8 groups of people can present. And then 2 days, 2 weeks or 2 days, then you can have 16, at the maximum of 16 groups to present. So technically, you cannot have too many groups. Okay, technically, you cannot have too many groups. I would suggest you do it this way. Okay, I would suggest you do it this way. You organize yourself. Okay, organize yourself. Okay, it's running now. Sorry. Okay, organize yourself into groups of 6 to 8 people. Okay, not those 6 to 8 people. Organize yourself according to the last digit of your matric number. So maybe the class rep can help to organize this. So I would prefer, not necessarily 6 to 8 people. You organize yourself by the last digit of your matric number. So then you're going to have those with ending zeros, those ending with 1, those ending with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, since you have about 117 in a class, I would expect yourself to, once you have done that reorganization, you're definitely going to end up with 10 groups, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, and very, very sure some of the groups will have more people than usual. Okay, more people than usual. So then again, you have to draw lots, maybe look at now second number and so on and so forth, and make it such that you have maybe about 10 to 12 groups only. Because if you have 10 groups, and each group is 2 days to present. If you have 12 groups, each group is being given 50 minutes, then you also have about 2 days to present. I don't want too many groups, okay? I don't want too many groups, because one day we can have only anything between 6 to 8 groups to present. Why? Even though you give them 50 minutes, okay, people tend to overshot their allocated time. And then there's no guarantee that everything will be finished sharp at 50 minutes. And then when you have transition of people, this and that, there'll be movement of people, so you may take up to 20 minutes, or even 25 minutes, or even half an hour for each of the presenting group. So I'll prefer for you first organize according to the last digit of the matric number, and then after that, the excess number of students can be maybe reformed into an additional 1 or 2 groups. So you're going to have maybe at the most 12 groups. Okay, don't have to keep to the 6 to 8 people. Just organize maybe what? If you have 117, that means you have maybe about 10 people to a group, and so on and so forth. Okay, anything extra, then you need to, anybody extra, then you may need to reallocate them to the other group by looking at second digit, or maybe find a way to do it. No problem. Okay, no problem. I want to keep the group to maybe about 10 to 12 groups only, if possible. Okay, 10 to 12 groups. So next is, once you have your group, elect a leader and representative and scribe to note down all the important discussions. If possible, try to get your weekly meeting done. Okay, your weekly meeting done. Why? This will become important later. Okay, when it comes to week 7. Okay, week 7. I'll tell you what is it. So you need to conduct brainstorming sessions, and I don't expect you to do it now, because I'm teaching you the materials pertaining to the project step by step between now to maybe about week 5. So you may be able to think about any ideas. You can talk in the class, in a group, and so on and so forth, but maybe you can't really finalize anything. Okay, you can't really finalize anything. So you can propose anything that you want, provided that it is not something that is sensitive. Okay, do not do on sensitive topics. Avoid sensitive topics. That means anything that is any topics that is no go. For example, religion. For example, race. For example, political. No, don't go for those. Go for something simple. And then something that is also creative or interesting. For example, you can look at this. Limburger cheese is an attractant for malaria mosquitoes. Okay, why? You may not understand this from this particular article. Okay, you may not understand this from this particular article, but this Limburger cheese smells like food, because they found out that malaria mosquitoes actually use the smell of food to locate where the humans are, and then once they are close enough, they turn on their infrared search. Okay, infrared search capability. Their eyes can actually sense infrared. Then only then they nail down where the humans are. So mosquitoes are very good. They have infrared sensors. They have CO2 sensors. And then, but the problem is the CO2 and the heat sensors can only work when they are when they are rather close to the prey. So other than that, they need special smell. So the Limburger cheese, according to them, smells like the food the food of a typical average person. So in this particular research, this group of researchers published in Parasitology Today use Limburger cheese because it has similar smell to the food and to attract malaria mosquitoes and kill them. And maybe you can even do topics like amount of sleep time and effect of attention span in class. I will show you some examples from your seniors, because this idea here of a semester assignment is actually to train you guys so that you know what to do, what to organize in order to put in place your final year project. This is actually a group project, okay, a group project. So you have a rough idea of what to organize, what to accumulate, and this and that. Because at a later stage, you need to do this alone for your final year project. Okay, so that is step number 3. Number 4, try to use your fellow classmates as subjects. Get permission from other course coordinator you use to perform laboratory experiments or animal experiments. I don't recommend you to do laboratory or animal experiments. Avoid those, okay, because there are no allocation available, and to do trial on animals and on humans, you need special permission. We don't have time for permission. Okay, if you do survey, you need the human ethics. Human ethics may take 2 months to get through. The same with animal ethics as well. So try not to. Okay, try not to. Number 5, set your research objectives. Direct all your discussion on what variables you have to measure in order to investigate your research equation. The fact, idea, learning outcomes, and action table will be helpful. This is actually a table from your PBL. Okay, PBL. I'm not mandating that everybody does this. No. But what I'm saying is that you need to set your research objectives, what you are trying to do. Okay, what you are trying to do. And once you have that, define your research hypothesis and statistical hypothesis, and do this after the mid-semester break. Okay, to some extent. Now, what you can see here is that there are a lot of terms that you may not know yet. For example, research objective, hypothesis, statistical hypothesis. Okay, and all this. These are terms that you have not been taught yet. So that means you may not be able to do your project-oriented assignment within the first week or even first month of the semester. Because why? I'm going to teach all these materials about research objectives, about problem statements, about parameters and everything else in the subsequent lectures. So once you've got the materials and subsequent lectures, then you can start to organize them. This is actually what parameters I want to investigate. This is actually how I investigate different parameters interact with each other. And then from there on, then I can submit for test 1. Okay, this is test 1. Around the second half of the semester, all groups will have come up with their research objectives and list of variables to be measured. Okay, so you need to put down, okay, what is your objective? Okay, what you want to study? Okay, for example, you want to study if the Limburger cheese is actually a very good mosquito attractant. So what do? You measure the amount of number of mosquitoes in the room is introduced, for example, and after that you analyze the data and see whether there are differences before and after the Limburger cheese has been introduced. So these are the kind of things that you need to think about, you need to design in order to do your research. So this is also one of the main reason why this course is required for your final year project, because it allows you to think logically, scientifically, and so on and so forth. You introduce a change, and then whether this change leads to the other effect that you want to see. This is actually something that is important for you to be able to do that. Okay, now, what type of study do I favor? It should be a study that is very short, something that you can complete within 1 week, because we don't have the entire semester to do so. Remember, for the first 7 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks, you'll be listening to how to structure a research, and then after that, carry it out. Okay, after that, carry it out and submit the list, the research objectives and list of variables by end of week 7, which is the week before you start your mid-semester break, the week of 3rd of December. Okay, the week of 3rd of December, which is not very far from now. Okay, not very far from now. But in order to do that, you need to have a good idea of what research objectives and list of variables that you can do, and all this requires you to have some degree of exposure. Okay, to the lectures that I'm going to do, so that you know what I'm going to teach you and how to structure your research objectives and then your list of variables, what variables for you to investigate. For example, if you want to know whether a compound is dangerous to the animal, Okay, it's quite natural for you to take samples from the kidney to evaluate the liver functions and so on and so forth, because this will actually tell you whether the animal is succumbing to the toxic effects and so on and so forth, whatever they're going to introduce. Okay, so design a study that you can complete within 1 week, something simple, typically survey, preferably in the form of questionnaires, and administer the questionnaires in the middle of the semester after you had your differential statistics lecture. Number 8 depends very much on what you want to do, but technically your seniors elected to do their project, their semester project after the semester break. Okay, after the semester break, because by then things have more or less settled down, this and that. Okay, once you have done all this, prepare a presentation and write a short research paper. Now, this is actually something that is also important, because this will train you to synthesize results, collate results for your final project, write it into short abstract, and then prepare a slide to present. So you can see, since this is actually team effort, it will be much more easier for you guys to compile all this, because you work in teams. Okay, somebody can do something else, somebody can do the slide, somebody can do the analysis, and so on and so forth. You merge everything together, then you become something that you can table for a project. So submission and presentation occurs in week 13 and week 14. Okay, week 13, week 14. So which is supposedly next year, just before Chinese New Year. Okay, just before Chinese New Year. So it becomes important for you to plan well. Okay, to plan well, and then after that, write the abstract, and then and present the report using PowerPoint. So you can see all these arrangements, for example, from organizing sample size, from organizing what parameters you want to investigate, and then to think about the hypothesis of your research, to the point whereby you need to make interventions and so on and so forth to include certain parameter, finalize a parameter. It requires a lot of thinking. Now, once you have done all those, it's not the end yet. You need to analyze and compile the results in a manner that everybody can understand. Okay, and then submit the presentation, and submit maybe to any other partners that are interested, or authorities that want to publish them. So this is actually something that you have to do, some routine that you have to do for your research project. Okay, for a research project. So this one is actually to prepare you for your FYP. And like what I mentioned earlier, the topic is actually free. Topic should be very interesting, and then should be free. It can be anything. It can be anything. So subsequently, it can be anything. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard about the Ig Nobel. Okay, Ig Nobel is actually a lampoon of the Nobel Prize. Okay, because it is supposed to be rewarding research that doesn't make a difference, or research that doesn't make a difference, or maybe wacky and this and that. But I'm not saying that Ig Nobel is useless. No, but it tells you that unconventional ideas are very useful and very much welcome in this case. So you can read more about the Ig Nobel. Okay, and you can see that sometimes research output from most unexpected places will yield very unexpected results. For example, the GLIKES 13. This is actually something that is very interesting as well. It started off as a research to see whether rats responded to tickling or not. Okay, responded to tickling or not. And every time the rats are being stimulated that way, they produce some kind of antidepressant. Okay, in their brain. In this case, it's not rapastinel. Okay, GLIKES 13 or rapastinel, and because of that, the researchers at University of Northwestern, US, becomes well known in the world and becomes rich as well. Okay, so don't think that any research that is wacky is always going to be useless. No. Okay, no, it's going to be useful, just that we don't see the application yet. Okay, we don't see the use and application yet. So it may be intended for something, and then ultimately something else came out to be. A rather good example will be maybe cream cheese and 7-Eleven. Okay, the Slurpee from 7-Eleven. I'm sure everybody knows Slurpee. Okay, Slurpee. Slurpee was supposed to be an ice cream, a new form of ice cream. But far from being the ice cream that you typically know, it doesn't hold. So in order to consume Slurpee, you have to put it in the cup. You have to blend the fruits, whatever, the flavor, and then you put it in the cup and then drink it, rather than you put it on a stick, ice cream stick, and then lick it. So, but anyway, it becomes one of the signature products for 7-Eleven. Okay? It becomes one of the signature products for 7-Eleven. So initially it's supposed to be an ice cream, but doesn't work as an ice cream, but being sold as something else. It becomes something that is iconic for 7-Eleven. The other example will be cream cheese. Cream cheese was developed to be a different kind of cheese. But unfortunately, due to the solid and the moisture content, it become too soft to be a cheese. So instead of selling it as a cheese, they sell it as something else because the cream content is too high. Okay, so it becomes a different kind of cheese known as the cream cheese. And nowadays, everybody likes cream cheese. I'm sure you have heard about, or you have even consumed the cheesecake. Cheesecake is made out of not cheese but cream cheese, because nobody will be able to eat the cheesecake if it is made purely by cheese, because it will be too hard for them. Okay, too hard for the thief, too hard for the consumer, and this and that. So in this case, you can see that things that they intended to be did not turn out to be how they intended to be, but become something else that is even better and even more iconic, like Slurpee and the Slurpee drink and the cream cheese. Okay, maybe another one that I can also mention will be the elephant glue. Elephant glue is supposed to be developed as a liquid plastic. Okay, but somehow they failed to get it to. It was developed during the space program itself. Okay, the American space program, as a kind of a plastic, but it doesn't work out to be a plastic because it needs something to adhere to. Then only then it becomes solidified. So it becomes super glue. Okay, it becomes super glue because it's as good as plastic, as hard as plastic. So these are the kind of things that did not turn out to be what they intended to be. Maybe something similar to humans as well in life. Sometimes people thought that you yourself thought that you're going to become this, but eventually you become something else, which might be even better than your original plan, hopefully. So these are the kind of things that you have to keep yourself open to. Okay. Now, I'm giving you 5 examples. Okay, I'm giving you 5 examples. Something that started with rather creative, something that is rather wacky, but something that you can actually think about when you do. I'll show you examples from the seniors. Okay. Simple questions like, why can't I pay attention in class? Now, in research, you have to understand, you start with a research question. A research question is a problem that you want to solve. For example, you kept on asking yourself, why can't I pay attention in class? Well, there are so many answers to that. Maybe you don't have enough sleep. Maybe it's too noisy. Maybe it's whatever. But in this case, this researcher found out that one reason why they cannot pay attention in class is because of too high of a CO2. Okay, CO2 content. CO2 content, if it's high enough, you'll disrupt all these mental skills. You can see here, the dots in blue are actually 1000 ppm of CO2, and then the dots in black are 2500 ppm of CO2. And then the dots with white center is actually 600 ppm of CO2. And in the US, they actually have a law, occupational safety law, to limit the exposure of CO2 up to 5000 ppm over 8 hours daily. In Malaysia, no, we don't measure this. We don't care. We just stuff everybody in a mall, stuff everybody in the car, and then become super tired. Okay? But in the US, they have the federal law allowing exposure up to 5000 ppm. So you can see here the differences due to the level of CO2. 600, of course, is quite good because it doesn't affect all these skills. The basic activity, the applied activity, the focus activity, okay, the task orientation, initiative, and so on and so forth. You can see that when the CO2 becomes higher and higher, like 2500, the person actually loses initiative. They don't want to pay any attention to anything anymore. Okay, they don't want to pay attention to any attention to anything anymore. So this is actually something that is detrimental, something that you really need to understand. Okay, something that you really need to understand, because without understanding this, you may not be able to solve the problem. So in research, you always need to have a problem that you want to solve. So in this case, the problem is why can't I pay attention in class? So in order to solve it, you have to look for multiple aspects. And one of the factor in this case is CO2. So they need to measure CO2. In fact, by exposing yourself to CO2 at anything more than 2000, 2500 for more than 50 minutes, you are going to get very, very sleepy now. This is also one of the main reasons why if you stay in the car for so long, in a long journey, or maybe you go to a mall or maybe a crowded place for so long, once the CO2 is being used up, you get very, very sleepy and you cannot pay attention at all. You look at the impacts on the various levels of mental tasks, mental skills here. Okay, you see at 2500, not only that a human being lose initiative, they can't even think. Okay, they can't even think the options, the solution, and they don't even have the strategy to apply the solution, even if they have the solution. Okay, even they have the solution. So this is actually something that we need to pay attention to as well. So that means when you are attending classes or when you are attending issues or problems, make sure that you do it in an environment that is open. Right? And then because CO2 affect your performance. Okay, example number 2. Okay, example number 2. You may notice that I have journal links like this, DOI. Okay, journal links like this, DOI, and so on and so forth. Now, before I move on to the proper topic, I will also introduce to you how to search. Maybe your supervisor check what you are doing and so on and so forth, and all the resources available in the UPM's library. Okay. This is actually because these are the kind of things that you have to include in your thesis. You have to include, let's say, the journal that you use, the reference that you use. You cannot just simply say, I think this one is right or this one is wrong. No, there's nothing like I think. You need to quote with evidence. You need to speak with evidence. Okay, speak with evidence and so on and so forth. Now, this is actually an example whereby first we get evidence of whether you're an owl or a lark. This is an example whereby you either wake up early as a lark or sleep very late as like an owl. This one is something to do with your diurnal cycle and your performance. Okay, diurnal cycle and your performance. And to some extent, researchers track this all the way down to depression. It means if you stay up too late all the time, you are at a higher risk of depression because your brain is actually not allowed to rest, not allowed to reset, and this and that. And it is actually built into certain people. That's why certain people have the much higher tendency to suffer from depression and this and that. Versus if you have a proper lifestyle, waking up earlier, sleeping earlier, and a more regulated lifestyle, then you have less issues with depression and this and that. So this is actually rather interesting now. But if you look at the original article, okay, this is the original article. You see, I click the title. This is the original article. Okay, you look at the original article. Sleep and wakefulness are crucial prerequisites of cognitive efficiency, this and that. Everything is very, very technical. But if you look at this, this is the article at the Science magazine, but it refers to this original journal article. Now we look at this. This is from the original journal article that I copied. Okay, I copied earlier. I put it in here because sometimes you may not be able to have access. You look at the description. They are talking about the early, late, intermediate chronotypes. Chrono means time, so that means early risers, late sleepers, and then something in immediate. So that's why the lark and owl and everything else. So you see, in terms of science, the real publication could be very technical like this. Nobody will understand this. This one is not interesting at all. Okay, this one is not interesting at all. Chronotypes, sleep and wakefulness, this and that. Nobody is going to pay attention to this because it's so technical. However, if you have, this has been communicated to a science communicator, which they have a lot in the West, they can re-synthesize this article and then make it something, okay, make it something that is interesting. You see, is being translated this way. They say early birds catches the worm, but night owls may be missing far more than just a tasty snack. Researchers discovered the first physical evidence of structural brain differences that distinguish early risers from people who like to stay up late. The differences might help to explain why night owls seems to be at greater risk of depression. So you see, they talk about depression here. But this original publication, original publication did not really highlight to that, apart from this a few things. They say late chronotypes to exhibit chronic form of jet lag accompanied with sleep disturbances, vulnerability to depression, and high consumption of nicotine and alcohol, and so on and so forth. So this is actually something that you need a science communicator to help you to translate this, because oftentimes a lot of research are very, very technical in nature. Very, very technical in nature. You need somebody to translate that, then only that becomes meaningful. So I want you to be able to see all the topics of research around you. What can be used for your semester assignment for this course, VPP 3160? It should be something that is creative, something that is useful. I'll show you some examples. Another one, physics of high heels. This one is actually from the American Physical Society. This journal is supposed to talk about physics, but somehow they managed to find what would be the safe height of high heels for women based on all these factors. So these are known as characterization studies. You have a parameter and then you characterize them and saying what are the parameters that describe this characteristics. This is actually what I want you to do here. You have materials, okay? You have your material, you have your research objectives, you have your, to some extent, maybe even hypothesis, and then you need to to prove that this hypothesis is correct. Okay, and in order to prove that this hypothesis is correct, what will be the variables that you need to use? For example, how do you know that a medicine works in treating fever? Okay, how do you know that a medicine works in treating fever? So obviously, you need to have changes or reduction in temperature. So you start off with somebody having fever. If the medicine works, after let's say 20 minutes or 15 minutes, the temperature should subside. So that means your research objective is to see whether the so-called drug works on pyrexia, and in order to prove that pyrexia has been treated, you need to have parameters that show pyrexia has been treated. In this case, body temperature. So your one variable will be body temperature. So these are the kind of things that I want you to be able to gather, because at this particular stage, like what I've told you earlier, the first few weeks I'll be telling you about what the research is all about. You may be able to form some objectives, okay, some hypotheses, and then beyond that, this hypothesis should be justified or linked to variables. For example, you want to show that the drug works against pyrexia. So how do you know that it works against pyrexia? You need to measure temperature before treatment of the drug and after treatment of the drug. So if the temperature drops, that means yes, the pyrexia has been alleviated. So your parameter will be body temperature at 0 minute, 50 minutes after taking medicine, half an hour after taking medicine, 45 minutes after taking medicine, 1 hour after taking medicine. Then you'll be able to plot and see whether the parameters are changed. So these are the kind of things that I want you to submit by week 7. You have your objectives, and what are the variables used to substantiate or to support these objectives? Okay, this is supposed to be submitted by week 7. I don't want your entire plan yet, but that will be enough for your test 1. Okay, this will be enough for your test 1. Now the next example will be something that will be useful for your knowledge as well. This one was published in Frontiers in Zoology by Hart 2013, telling you dogs are sensitive to small variations of Earth's magnetic field. In fact, a lot of animals can do this. They can sense Earth's magnetic field in order to navigate themselves, particularly birds. They can, because magnetic field of the Earth is actually not constant. Certain places are much more powerful, certain places are not as powerful. That means as animals fly through the space, fly through magnetic field, they will suffer fluxes. Okay. For example, birds know that every time to get from one tree to the next tree on high up on the hill, they need to go through three fluctuations of magnetic field. So they know 1, 2, 3, and then only then they arrive at the next tree, so on and so forth. These are the kind of things that we may not be able to sense as a human being, but animals can. And because of that, animals can navigate themselves. In fact, it's been mentioned that this Earth magnetic field, particularly the magnetic line, okay, MF line, not only affects the migration pattern of animals, but maybe even behavior as well. Okay, maybe even behavior as well, because it is said that these animals have some degree of magnetosensitivity, something like magnetosensitivity. So it can be used to your effect to understand why certain birds can navigate so far, why certain animals can suddenly pop up so far from their home habitat, like whales and dolphins and so on and so forth. How do they find their way home? Okay, way home. So this is actually done in dogs. Okay, done in dogs, but then they demonstrated that these dogs have the ability to align themselves or change or align themselves according to the Earth's magnetic field. This is actually something that we never knew before, but it is happening out there. Okay, it is also happening out there. So these are the interesting type of studies that you can actually do. Okay, these are interesting type of studies that you can actually do, so that you know what to expect. So like what I've told you earlier, this assignment, okay, semester project, is actually something that you need to plan for over one semester. Okay, get yourself organized into numbers: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers, the last number of a metric number. And if you have more people, slightly more people for one particular group, reassign those people into maybe a new group and so on and so forth, based on their second number, third number, and so on and so forth, and try to get anything between 10 to 12 groups. Okay, because you see, if each group requires 15 minutes to present, you can technically fit 3 groups in an hour. Don't think that you can fit 4 groups in an hour. No, you can only fit 3 groups in an hour, because everybody will need time to move, time to set up this and that. So technically, by the time you're done, you could be about 20 minutes per presentation. So you can only have maybe what, if let's say certain people are going to overstep the limit. So this one will actually train you to communicate your research, present your research, and then at the same time work at the limits or time limits of what you can do and what you cannot do. Okay, so think about something that is actually interesting. Okay, something that is actually interesting. So I'll leave the class rep, or maybe to negotiate with you guys on how many groups that you want to create for the team. Not too many, because if there are too many, then by the time you reach your presentation in week 13, week 14, there will be a lot of groups to present. And bear in mind, the marks here submitted for week 7 will form marks of your test 1. Okay, marks of your test 1. Marks for test 2 definitely will be a written test. Okay, if let's say it cannot be conducted as a written test, then I have to go for other arrangement. So I'm combining your test 1 with your semester project. So that means this is actually 40 marks, 20 plus the original 20 for the semester project. You can look at this here. Okay, so ujian 1 is actually 20%, and then kerja khusus or the semester project will be another 20%. So to me, I think the test 1, the 20 marks of test 1 is more or less guaranteed in hand already, because as long as you submit your objectives, and then with your refined list of parameters, you should be able to do this. There's no problem at all. I don't see any problems at all. Okay, but if you have issues, you can always talk to me. So that is the briefing for your test 1 and semester assignment. Any questions? Are you clear? Any questions?
No, Prof.
Okay, so that means your test 1 done. Okay, your test 1 done. But please let me have the list of a group, maybe in because you need to submit research objectives and list of parameters that you want to measure by week 7. So I need to have those names ready. Okay, so that is actually for your group for your test one. Now let's move on to talk about the topic itself. Okay, I will be covering only 3 or 4 pages of this before I switch to something else. Because like what I promised you earlier, we really need to look at how to dig out information, how to understand this information, what are the resources for research available to you online. Okay, online, something that you need to think about for your final year project. Okay, in order to do a final year project, you need to understand what is research. Research is, well, to me, is looking at the same set of findings from a different perspective. That's why the word research. Okay, research. And it involves systematic process of collecting, analyzing information to increase the understanding of whatever that you're investigating. Whatever that you need to do in research, you always start with a research question, a problem that you want to solve. Okay, this is actually where we talk about the key elements of research, the process, and planning of research programs. Okay, let's jump to this one. Just like what you do for your final year project, I'm sure now you are looking for the topic, could be looking for your supervisor as well. So it becomes important for you to have some kind of an idea what you want to do for a final project. Now, contrary to what people have been saying, your final year project is not supposed to be what you're going to do after you graduated. Now, let me put it this way. You cannot foresee the future. You do not know where your career is going to get. You can plan, most probably I'm going to end up in wildlife, for example. Then you have to ask yourself again, are there that many opportunities in wildlife sector? No, I can tell you no. Okay, I can tell you no, very limited. So that means you could be switching to something else. So whatever it is, do a final year project that you won't get your back broken in the process. Because after all, when you complete your thesis, you might be surprised to know that to add a statement in front of your thesis and saying that this project is for partial fulfillment of the DVM degree. Partial fulfillment. So that means even if you pass the project, it doesn't guarantee that you pass the VET program because the other half is the comprehensive exam. So if you pass your project, you fail comprehensive exam, you still fail. If you fail your project, you pass the comprehensive exam, okay, what happens is that faculty will give you extra time to complete your final project because it makes no sense for you to pass the comprehensive exam and then fail the project. It doesn't work that way. So please, always prioritize the comprehensive exam towards the end of your studies. And in order to make sure that you get something that is meaningful for your research, something that is meaningful for your FYP, you need to have ideas. Now, where to look for ideas? Place number 1, go to the library. Look at what your seniors have done. And I'm very, very sure when you look through theses, you will encounter specific areas like conclusions and recommendations. I would suggest look at recommendations first. As absurd as what they have been told to you, go and look at the recommendations. There could be ideas there that you can actually generate or pick up, saying that, I can use this maybe as a starting point for my final year project. Look at recommendations, not only for the seniors thesis, but also for also at areas of what your supervisors are doing. Okay, what your supervisors are doing. So that means you could be looking at problems that is being faced by the industry, problems being faced by the sector. So it requires you to read, requires you to have discussions, requires you to do a certain degree of observation And of course, based on that, look at prior research that is being done, particularly by seniors. They would have written somewhere recommendations. Okay, recommendations. Likewise, you can also do it for your for your particular topic based on journals. Okay, based on journals. Okay, journals published for that particular area. So all this will give you ideas. Once you have an idea, then you establish a research focus. Research focus should be really focused. You cannot just simply say that I started with fish and then I wanted to do on tigers as well. I wanted to do on puppies as well. I wanted to do with shrimp as well. This and that. No, you cannot just keep on jumping. You need to have a research focus. Okay, research focus means the key focal area of your research. If your research is actually about wound healing using, let's say, resources from marine resources, now it makes sense. Number one, you need to study the wound healing process, the blood and the blood flow and everything else, how everything is being restored, versus the potential wound healing agent that you can use. You can harvest from anywhere else. It could be from the sea, it could be from another animal, it could be from anything. So you need to have that focus. You are going to use, let's say, the seaweed for wound healing, for example. So once you have a research focus, you have to identify the subject matter to be investigated, the objectives of the research, and the factors and measurable parameters. So this is actually what I want you to do in your test one. Okay? I'm teaching you already now. This is actually what I want you to do in test one. You need to have your objectives. For me, everything is summarized this way. This one. I have another material. I forgot about it already. It's supposed to be here, which is actually something that's more. Yeah, this one. Okay. In research, we are trying to. The core focus of your research is supposed to be how you solve a problem. So you need to have a problem statement. What problem are you solving? This will be the key driver for overall your overall research. So when you talk about problem statement, then you need to talk about what are the problems they want to solve. And based on that, you need to formulate, and then you need to justify that the problems are important because it causes a lot of death and it causes economic loss and this and that. It should be important, not something that is you're going to do out of what you feel that is important. No, it's actually you get a problem and then you need to know that problem needs to be important. So once you know the problem is important, you need to have solution. So objectives will typically describe solution to the problem. So now you have a problem statement, a problem that you want to investigate. Objectives will be the solution to that problem. Okay? In order to know whether this solution works or not, you need to have a series of parameters. For example, you want to know whether the drug can actually cure fever. You need to treat. You need to use the drug to treat the patient, and then in order to see whether the temperature drops or not. So that will be the objective solution to the problem. And how this solution turn out to solve the problem will be the hypothesis. You hypothesize, the moment this person is having fever, the moment you give them this drug, it will get rid of the fever. How? Well, perhaps by giving this drug, it will help to kill all microorganisms in this particular patient, removing it from the bloodstream. And once it removed from bloodstream, immune response is no longer that strong, and therefore temperature goes down. So this is actually how the triads or the three elements are actually linked to each other. Number one, you need to have a problem statement in research. What kind of problem you are solving? Number two, what is the solution to the problem that you have in the form of objectives? And number three, once you have the solution, you need to know whether the solution is going to work or not, or how is it going to work. This is actually where you hypothesize things. Okay, this is actually where you hypothesize. So this is actually something that is important for you to understand as well. Now, let's look at resources that UPM is offering. Number one, in order to look for topic, you can refer to a senior. Number two, you can refer to the thesis available in the faculty's library. Number three, you may want to do a little bit of search on your supervisor. Okay, this is actually where I introduced you to the library service of UPM, lib.upm.edu.my. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you have already accessed this one. There are so many things that you can find here, lib.upm.edu.my. So scroll the way down, you'll get easy access. Okay, easy access. This portal allows you to access journals subscribed by UPM, books bought by UPM electronically. You need not be in a library, but you can actually access it online anywhere as long as you have UPM ID and the database is actually subscribed by UPM. Okay, so once you have this, okay, click easy access, and then you just log in. Okay, this is UPM. Okay, UPM library, all the databases that we already subscribe. For your information, some of these databases cost millions of ringgit. Okay, millions of ringgit. You see, you have Cabby books. Okay, agriculture and applied health sciences. You can click here. These are books available here that you can search, download for free. Okay, Cabby ebooks. For example, this one. You can download the entire book, no problem. Enzymes, animal, farm animal nutrition. Okay, now let's click this one. Okay, so you can actually click on these book chapters. Okay, and then you can view it and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is the entire chapter of the book. Okay, so the books are available for you because UPM has already paid for this. But I doubt many of us are actually using it. Even among the academic staff, not many are using it. Okay, Cambridge Journal, everything is here, so you can search. Some of you prefer to use Google. Yeah, fine, fair enough. You can use Google Scholar, maybe even other more specialized engine. Okay, I want to introduce you to one particular group or database. Click S, Science Direct or Scopus. Go to Scopus. You can access from Google as well, but you only have very limited functions that you can search. here, okay, as you can see that it's subscribed by UPM. Now, let me tell you this. This database costs us 1 point something million every year. 1 point something million US dollars. Okay, every year. And not many people are using this. We use this to search for materials for journals. We use this for to look for information and so on and so forth. And where is that 1 million over US dollar come from? From the office that I'm taking care now. I knew this because I'm the one who signed the invoice. And it really hurts me when I see that it's not properly being used. Okay, so please, after this, log in and use it. Everybody have access to this. This one is subscribed until end of this year. Okay, 1 point something million. So that means it's equivalent to about 4 million ringgit. Okay, 4 million ringgit. So what can you find here? You can find a lot of things. You can find maybe a paper on animal nutrition and everything else. But of course, the specialized journal subscription on cases, JSP and so on and so forth, is from this particular portal. Okay, in this particular portal, so you can search here. The other journals are available via Scopus. Okay, this is actually where you can do a little bit of searching about what your supervisors has been doing. Of course, you can also search from Google Scholar what your supervisors are doing, and then again you can look for the paper. Okay, now I would do this. Okay, maybe just go to Google. Maybe we go to Google Scholar. Okay, Google Scholar. Google Scholar, you can search anything that you want. Maybe the supervisors, maybe the academic staff at the faculty. Let's try who? Mokrish. Mokrish Ajat. Okay. These are papers produced by Dr. Mokrish. Of course, in Google, it's not as well organized. Yeah, it's not as well organized. These are the paper he published. Okay, this is the paper he published about some of them. In here, in Scopus, you can do the same search. Okay, click authors. And last name, I think he used Ajat, his father's name. Use M. Affiliation, and never mind, just search whatever that's there. Okay, you can see here, this is Mokrish. Okay, Mokrish, this is under Scopus. Click Mokrish. Okay, you can see number of articles that he already have. H index. Okay, H index will tell you how many times his article has been cited and what are the areas that he contributed most. You see, Mokrish